Hi everyone and welcome again to my channel AI with Muzammil. Today we're going to talk about how we can use different kind of conditional statements in Python and also how we can implement different loops in Python. So let's go right into it. Okay, so let's activate our environment by saying conda activate and the environment name is my first env. Okay, the prompt is changed. You can clear the screen. And now the first thing that we're going to learn today is conditional statements. It basically involves if and else statements. And these basically kind of statements are used to conditionalize certain a part of code. And when we want to, like, for example, put a condition on a certain block of code, we can use these kind of statements. And I can explain it by example. So one example is that let's say we have a temperature and we would like to print out certain print statements based on what the temperature is. So let's say if it's very hot and it's, let's say, greater than 35 or 30 degrees C, we can print out to the screen that it is very hot today. And if it is between, let's say, 15 to 30, we can say that it is pretty okay. If it is below than 15 degrees centigrade, we can print out to the screen that it's very cold today. So in this example, in this way, we would learn how we can use this if and else condition statements. And let's say we have a temperature variable and the value we can assign it anything right now at the moment. Let's say 20. And the way to execute if and else statements is we have this if keyword. We should define like if, and then we put the comparison statement. So we can say if the temperature is greater than 20, or let's say 25, then we put a colon here to define that this is the end of this if line. And then in the next line, remember that whatever we write, so in other programming languages, let's say in C or C++, or even let's say in MATLAB, what we do is that we have this if condition, and then we have an end over here, okay, to define that this is the end of this if block. But in Python, instead of doing like something like if and then writing stuff here, we do not do this kind of stuff. What we do is that we do not write an end statement, and whatever comes within this if block, we put it in indentation here. So as you can see, if I press an enter from here, it automatically gives this 4 spaces here. So you can also manually put 4 spaces, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can also press the tab button, so you can have automatic 4 spaces. Or in VS Code, you can just press from this line. At the end of this line, you can press enter, and you will have the indentation. So whatever you want to print when this statement gets true, you can print it here. So let's say we can say uh, uh, print, and the temperature is greater than 25. It should be, sorry, it should be hot, or it is hot today, right? And we can run the program and see how it works. But we should make the temperature, let's say, 35, and then I can explain why. So Python and conditions, and we can see that it says it is hot today, and that's because the temperature is indeed greater than 25. What if the temperature is less than 25? So let's say if the temperature value is 25 and it compares this value, so this will not hold true, and let's see what it does. So as you can see, it has not printed anything because this condition has not uh, turned true, and that's why we cannot really print it out. So to avoid certain situations, we can also put else kind of statements, or elif. So we have this elif, which basically resembles else if, and you can say that if temperature is less than 25, okay, you can say uh, it is cold. It is cold today, right? And we can again print it out, and we can say that, okay, we have to save it. Yes. If we run it, it says it is cold today. So if the temperature is 20, it says it is cold today because it's less than 25. And when it's greater than 25, let's say I put it 100, uh, it will say it is hot today. But one thing we need to look, like if I put 25 here, it's not going to run anything because we have the condition for when the temperature is greater than 25 and when it is less than for 25, when it is less than 25, but we do not have any statement when it is equal to. So we can either put, let's say here, greater than equal to 25, or we can also put greater than equal to here, less than equal to here, to assign this value as well. You can also put certain like chunks of this threshold. So you can say, for convenience, let's say if it is greater than 30, right, it is hot today. Okay. We can say that if the temperature is less than 30 and the temperature is greater than let's say 20, so if it is in the range of 20 to 30, we can say that it is pretty okay today. And we can also write if temperature is less than, let's say, 20, but it is greater than, let's say, 5. And we can print it out again that it is cold today. And we can also finally put uh, else. So basically this would invoke all the values when the temperature is less than 5, sorry, 5 or equal to 5. And we can say that print it is freezing today. Okay, so let me explain it. So this basically this part of the condition would say that the temperature greater than 30 would be hot. It would print that it is hot. And when the temperature is less than 30, but it is greater than 20, so the temperature is from 20 to 30, it would print it is pretty okay today. And the temperature less than 20, but greater than 5, so from 5 to 20, it should say it is cold today. And anything else, so anything other than this, which basically means when the temperature is less than 5 or equal to 5, or it goes even in the negative, it should say that it is freezing today. Okay, so let's run with different values. Let's say we have a temperature of 100. We should see that it says it is hot today. We can put certain value between 20 to 30. Let's say we have 25. Uh, it should print out it is pretty okay today. So it's kind of a room temperature. And when we goes down to from 5 to 20, any value, I don't know, 12. And let's run it again, and it should say it is cold today. And let's put like very negative values because anything less than 5 should print this value out. So we can confirm that as well. It is freezing today. And that's how you basically use these if else statements. And you can also like extend this to different scenarios where you have multiple if and else conditions, and then based on the situation that you have, you can put it in different formats. Okay, then we're gonna talk about uh, loops in Python. Okay, and so there are two kind of famous loops. One is while, and the other is for loops. And the loops basically helps you iterate over different things. So when you want to iterate over a number of different things, you can use loops in that scenarios. And for example, one very simple way is you want to print out. So for convenience, let's comment this out. Okay. Now let's say you would want to print uh, I am okay, and you for some reason, for whatever reason, you would want to print it 10 times, right? So the pretty, okayish way, or pretty uh, simple way would be to, I mean, simple is in turn a relative term, but let's say a very easy way would be to write it 10 times, or let's say you would want to print it 5 times. Okay, so you can do it you can write it 5 times, and when you run this statement, you can say that it has printed out 5 times. I'm okay. But let's say you have to print it out for 1,000 times or billion times or even a gazillion times. Or it's not really about printing. If you would want to iterate over different things, and you have to do one task multiple times with multiple iterations, so you cannot really do it again and again. So for that we have loops, and the loops basically here is very simple. The concept of loops is, for example, let's talk about while loop. So while loop says, let's say you have the iteration, you would want to have a max iterations of 5. So you would want to repeat it for 5 times. So what you can do, and you can also start with I equal to 0, iteration, let's name it iteration equal to 0. And you can say while I iteration is less than equal to max iteration, and then you put this colon over here. So, so what you want to say is print I am okay. Okay. Now what it does that it checks, it will loop over this, it will iterate over this while this value holds true. So while the value of iteration right now it is 0 is less than or equal to 5, or it should be less than 5, it should be here less than max iteration. So while the value of iteration is less than max iteration, it's going to print it out, this value. Now we also have to update the value of iteration over here. So what we can do is here, uh, iteration is equal to iteration plus 1. Okay, we can do either that, or we can also do something like uh, iteration plus equals to 1, which is basically similar to iteration plus 1. Okay, so what we do is that we check this value, we print it out, and then we also update this value. So iteration starts from 0. When it prints it for the first time, it's going to update its value from 0 to 1, and so on. It's going to keep updating it until it reaches 5. And we can see that when we uh, uh, run the program, we have 5 times this printed out. And the reason, because when it reaches at the value of 5, let's say when we have 5 and then here it updates with plus 1, so the iteration becomes 6. And when it comes again to this while loop, it checks against this condition, that is the iteration value less than max iterations. So in that case, it doesn't hold true, and that's why it basically runs this program, ends this while loop. The other way, okay, this was about while loop. The other way to do this is using a for loop, and the basically for is one of the most commonly used loops in Python. And the way it works is that you can define, for let's say for iteration, in range. And range basically means, so range is a kind of function when you put max iteration. So let's say for ease, if I put here range 5 and do like this, and I run it, so we can see that we have it printed out for 5 times. And the way it does is that it takes on in this range. So range basically defines how many values you're going to use. So if you say 10, so the range would basically means from 0 to 9, okay, a total of 10 elements. If you tell it 5 values, a max of 5 iterations, so the range function, what it does is it creates a list from 0 to 4, so a total of 5 values, and that's how it iterates over it. You can also define the starting point. So uh, by default, range starts from 0. Okay, but you can also tell it, and it ends. Okay, well, let's not make it very complex. So you can also define start, I guess, as 1. Okay, so you can also define start, or just maybe say start. Okay, and you can print it out. And in this case, since the range by default starts from 0 and it goes up till 4, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, a total of 5 values. When we give it a starting point of 1, so it's gonna go from 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's when you start from a different point, it's going to reduce the total number of iterations. So with 0, we have one additional iteration, and that's why it prints basically 5 times this. But with starting from 1, you can also differentiate it to, let's say, start from 1, and then that's why we are having it 4 iterations over here. You can also, like for convenience, you can even print this out here. So you can see when we run the loop, so the iteration basically are these numbers, and we can see that it basically runs 1, 2, 3, 4. By default, we can also check it should print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, we can see that it runs 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, of course, there are multiple ways. You can also not really iterate over numbers. You can also, let's say you have a list of names. Okay, we have names. Let's revert back to the names list. We had Sophia. Okay, and then we have, I don't know, we had Evermax, Evermax, and then we can have, let's say, Sarah. Okay, so instead of only iterating over numbers, you can also iterate over names. So you can say something like, okay, let's make it another block here. Okay, you can also say for name in names, okay, and then you can say print out the name. Okay, so what it does is that it takes these names, okay, and when you put a name in names, it creates an iteration, iteratable over this list, and it fetches each of the index. So we have at index 0 we have the Sophia, at index 1 we have Evermax, and then at the last index we have Sarah. So you can at each index iterate and print out the names. And we can see when we print it out, we have these 4 names, okay? But you can also apply if name equals, let's say, Irfan, okay? So you can say print, wow, he he is also in the list, okay? So that's what you kind of can do. We can remove this printing line and we can see that it's not going to print anything because the name Irfan is not in the list. If you add the name Irfan, okay, something like this, then you can see that it says that, well, he's also in the list. So you can play around with this logics, different logical and conditional statements, and you can basically put whatever you would want to apply and whatever condition or whatever logic that you're really looking into. And this is basically the crux of using for loops and conditional statements. And that is pretty much it from this tutorial. And I hope you have learned something. And we're gonna be looking more for more kind of stuffs in Python in the future videos. So I'll see you soon. Thank you.